My younger self is 25 years old. He works in sales. He's hardworking, disciplined, but completely clueless. And this is because he's not being coached. He's not being coached enough. And this is a typical problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to time travel back and give myself advice. I'm going to give him 11 pieces of advice that will completely change the way he does B2B sales. I hope you will benefit as well. My first lesson to you, Red, is don't be too hard on yourself. You're being way too hard on yourself. I know your standards are high and you really want to improve and become a better salesperson. You can see that this is your path. You can see that this is your passion, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. You are still a beginner. You are still learning the basics of sales. And I know why you are putting pressure on yourself. It's because your standards are high. Your standards are really, really high. You want to live up to every single standard that you have. But you need to learn that these things take time. You cannot become a master in a matter of months or years. It takes a long time to master a profession. So what you're suffering from right now is lack of visibility. You're not seeing the complete road in front of you. You're only seeing fragments because you're still learning. Number two, use your personality. There's nothing wrong in that. Right now, what you're doing is that you're separating your business personality from your private personality, the person that you are when you are not working. And the truth is, you want to use both. You want to unfold your personality more in your relations with the people that you meet. And that could be both internally in your company, the company that you work for right now, but particularly when you go out and meet people that you have never met before, prospects, managers, directors, technicians, whatever their title is, make sure to use your personality. What I figure out now is that when you use your personality fully, you let people connect with you easier. It's easier for them to connect with you. It's easier for them to see you. But when you only display a one-dimensional character, the businessman, you're actually missing out. Because by opening up, you can create a lot of meaningful relationships with people that you will have some kind of relationship to in the future. Because you're going to meet people again. The world is very small. You're going to meet people again and again and again. They change jobs, then you can contact them. You change jobs, then you can contact them. You are going to meet them in seminars. You're going to meet them maybe even in your workplace. A customer can suddenly become a colleague. I've experienced that. Like this IT guy that you're trying to sell to could become your colleague in 20 years. You know, it's happened to me a lot of times. So use your personality because it adds color to you as a person. It adds depth to you as a person. And it actually makes it more fun to work in sales when you can use yourself completely. The thing that you need now is to learn how to express the personal side of yourself in a safe way that doesn't transgress any of your personal limits, right? You just need to learn how to use your personal side in a way that is completely safe. And you can do that. So what I want you to do, I'm going to give you an assignment. The next 3 business meetings that you have with people that you haven't met before, like prospects, talk to them about Japan. Tell them about your trips to Japan. Tell them about your Aikido, why you are practicing Aikido, the Japanese martial art, and try to connect these 2 things. Make it an assignment to do that 3 times and you will see what happens. Advice number 3, it's about them, not you. This is very important. It took me a lot of years to really understand this and to internalize this fact. It is 100% fact that when you are in a sales situation and you are talking to a prospect, they really don't care much about you and your company and your achievements. What they care about mostly is themselves, their problems, their agenda, their ambitions. It's all about them. not you. So what you want to do is to become better at listening, better at asking questions so that you can understand them. Show interest, real, true, honest interest. And you do this by being curious. Be curious, talk to people, ask them questions before you present your company, before you present anything basically. The only thing you need to present first is yourself. Introduce yourself, use your personality, and then start asking questions. And even if they might try to get you to present first, don't do that. They only do that because they are used to doing that. They are used to sales reps coming and just from the get-go presenting themselves, their customers, their achievements, etc., 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 etc. Don't do that. Start asking questions. So, why are we together today? Why do we have these meetings? Why do anything? Why now? Why consider someone like us? What is the problem? How is this problem affecting you? Have you tried solving this problem in any way? What was the result? How is this affecting you? What is your strategy? How can I support you? What is the most important criteria you have for picking or choosing a partner? These are all examples of questions that you can ask. Become good at asking questions. Try to really understand before you try to be understood. It's about them. It's not about you. If you listen attentively and carefully and show interest in them and understand their problems and how you can solve them, then you are miles ahead of your competitors. Your competitors are not going to do this. They are almost for sure doing it the classical way, which is presenting, impressing, pressuring. You don't want to pressure, you don't need to impress. All you need to do is listen. Listening is the best presentation ever. Make it about them, not about you. Advice number 4, learn how to ask questions. I cannot stress this enough because what you're doing today is you're not asking enough questions. And when you are asking questions, you are typically only touching the surface. So you're trying to understand the metrics part, the numbers, like how many offices do you have, how many employees do you have, how many companies do you own, etc. You're trying to understand and quantify. This is okay, but it is certainly not enough. You want to act like a journalist, especially in your first meeting with a prospect. When you meet them, ask them great questions. Prepare your questions before you go in there. And the questions need to be designed in a way that they open up. So you need open-ended questions that can open up and give you a lot of information. Don't stop too early. Keep asking questions until you have some idea of how you can support this customer or this future customer. It'll surprise you how open people are to expressing and explaining their difficulties. And this is mainly because you show interest. Because you show interest, they are open and want to explain it to you. Make sure that all the information that is being said in a meeting like that, be careful with that information. Don't give it to someone who can use it. Just protect that information and use it constructively to figure out how you can support this prospect, how you can help and benefit this prospect. So use your creativity, use your curiosity to dig into the issues. And what you're really looking for is basically pain, some kind of pain that you can build upon. Because pain is typically followed by budgets. Companies have set aside money to solve certain problems. If there's a problem, they will release the funds to fix that problem. So if you can tap into the problem, understand it, really understand it, then you can also show how you can support that, both with a solution and what it will cost. And this will make it much easier for you to, through the sales process, continue addressing the path where we are going, what we're trying to achieve together, and remind the prospect that this is what we're going to do, this is what we're trying to do. And in sales, you always, and I know this because I know you are working with your teammates. You constantly have an expert with you in any given sales process. Nothing is done alone. You're constantly dependent on other experts from your company. So make sure they understand the customer's pain as well. Make sure they are completely briefed and have the same understanding as you. Because if they don't have that understanding, they're not going to be able to perform very well. So remember that you're actually kind of like a manager yourself. Right now your title is account manager, right? And the manager part is the leadership part. You lead, you ask questions, you get the information from this prospect, you build trust, and then you share this knowledge with people who are close to you that are going to help this prospect. And this will give the prospect an impression of a team that is there to support. And this instills trust. So, become better at asking questions. Notice how journalists are good at asking questions. Just look at journalists and see how they phrase their questions and how they are silent as soon as they pop the questions. They don't start rambling or answering their own question. They ask the question, boom, silence, because they require an answer. Do the same. Become good at asking questions, and you will see that your meetings become much more relevant, and the customer will lean into the conversation in a way that you haven't seen before. Number 5, they are all human beings. I know that right now you are a bit intimidated by talking to C-level people, the CFO, the CEO, the COO, the CIO, etc. These titles have an intimidating effect on you, but you're not alone. I can tell you, because I'm coaching people now, and I can tell you that grown-ups, people that have 10, 20, 30 years of experience are still intimidated by titles. They're all human beings. And as soon as you figure out that there is an underlying principle beneath all human beings, then you also understand how to approach the different titles. You typically have a lower level, people that are operational on the ground, so to say. You have the middle managers, and then you have the C-level. The C-level are the people directing the company. They have more authority, they have access to funds and resources, they are the bosses, right? And then you have the middle managers, who are the bosses within certain boxes, so to say. And then you have the operational people that can influence upwards and say, we need this, we need that, and this is the problem, and they describe everything because they're closer to the problem, they're closer to the pain. And the middle managers are typically interested in understanding what's happening on the ground level and bringing that up to the C-level, and the C-level will then decide. Their work, their job is mostly decision making. They're decision makers. So don't be afraid of them. They're not going to eat you alive. They're actually pretty friendly and pretty good to talk to. Why? Because what I've experienced is that the C-level are very clear. They're very clear. They are direct. They typically don't package the message. They just give it to you as it is, and that's a good thing because you don't want to waste time. So the C-level person is typically someone with authority, with the overview, but they lack the connection to the day-to-day process, right? They don't understand what's happening on the ground floor, and they often don't understand what the solution is about. So when you have a high stake opportunity, like a bigger prospect that you're working on, you absolutely must engage the C-level. This is really important, because if you don't do that, you are going to be sidetracked in the last moment. You have zero idea whether this thing is going to happen or not. So you end up investing a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of hope in closing this big deal, and suddenly someone on the top can just say, we're not going to do that, we're going to do this. Or we're not going to do it with them, we're going to do it with them. So they can come in at the last moment and just sidetrack everything. At this stage, you're not experienced enough to do it yourself, but talk to your manager, talk to your CEO, talk to your C-level in the company that you represent, and bring them into the conversation. Ask them, can you please contact the CIO? I'm working this prospect. I know this so far. This is the pain that we're trying to solve. This is the effect that it has on them. And we're actually pretty qualified to solve this problem. Can you please, Mr. CEO, talk to their CEO or their CIO or their CFO, whatever. You need some kind of connection between their C-level and your C-level. Use that, because right now what you're doing is you're operating on the lowest level, and it feels comfortable because you feel like it's safe, but it's not. I'm promising you, it is not safe to only contact the people on the ground floor. You need to contact them all. This is called stakeholder management. I think you should study that. Try to figure out what stakeholder management is. Number 6, protect your time. Right now, you are wasting a lot of time. I promise you that because I know you. So what you're doing right now is you're focusing on quantity, not quality. So what you're doing is you're calling people, you are having a lot of meetings, and you are sending a lot of offers. And you just do that, and you just focus on volume. And that's okay. It's gonna bring you home, and you're gonna get your commission, etc. But there's a smarter way of working. You need to think like an investor. An investor has a certain amount of money that they want to invest, and they're not going to invest it without calculation. So look at your time as gold coins. You have a lot of gold coins. Let's say you have 8 hours today for work. That is 8 gold coins. Invest them carefully. Where are you going to invest them? Because every hour is valuable. Right now, it's just volume for you, but you need to qualify more. So you might ask me, Red, what is this qualify? How do I qualify? Well, what you do is you become a bit more careful with your time. So when you have an opportunity, you know that not every single offer is going to become a customer. Actually, just a few of them will become a customer. I can tell you that now. So let's say you send 20 offers, maybe 2 of these 20 offers are going to become a buying customer. But what if you could become better at qualifying what you should invest in and what you shouldn't invest in? So how do you do that? Well, you take a look at the prospect, the situation, and you ask difficult questions. You ask the prospect, do you have the budget to do this? Why would you do anything? And if they're not able to answer that, then maybe there is no case here. There is no pain. There is nothing. It's just them saying okay to a meeting, or maybe just looking interested in the prices out there, price comparison, etc. Some will even use you to pressure their current vendor because they get better prices from you that they can then use to leverage their pricing with their partner. Qualify more. Be a little bit critical. So when you are at this meeting with this prospect the first time, don't be afraid of asking, do you have budget for this? Would you be able to execute on this if we come to an agreement? Is there a real pain here that we need to solve? What is this about? Their answers will give you an indication of whether you should go forward or not. And if you feel like you shouldn't go forward, then don't go forward, and explain to the prospect exactly why. Because what you're hearing is there's no budget, there's no real pain, they're not really interested in doing anything right now, maybe in the future. Well, why spend time on building an offer and sending it to them? Don't. Just save the time and use it to help someone who is really in need, who really has pain, who really has budget and resources to do something about it. Use your energy right. Okay, so qualify a bit more. Just start practicing. Look at your prospects right now, look at your opportunity right now, and go through them one by one, and try to ask the hard questions. And if you're not able to answer them yourself, call the prospect and ask them. Lesson number 7, front load your knowledge. Right now you have a lot of blind spots. There's a lot of things that you don't understand about B2B sales, and it's actually a quite interesting, inspiring, and fascinating field that you're operating in. It's not just about selling, it's not just about the transaction, it's not just about the commission. There are so many interesting aspects to B2B sales that you're not aware of yet. And one of them is the human psychology, like understanding how people think. It's also about process, how you can build a process based on previous experience that you can follow multiple times and get good results most of the time. It's about productivity, how you can become more efficient. There are so many interesting aspects in B2B sales. So you have definitely chosen the right path for you. And you're gonna study all of these things in the future. I am still studying these things right now because I find them so fascinating. It's much more than just money, commission, etc. It's about the game. The game of B2B sales is very fascinating. It's a high performance game, and it's inspiring because it helps you develop yourself. It's actually one big personal development journey. So what I advise you to is front load your learning. Study more. You're going to study once in a while, read a good book, see a good video here and there. But take responsibility for your learning and start learning continuously. Don't stop learning. This will benefit you a lot, especially in the beginning where you have a lot of blind spots. So I want you to read about B2B sales. Look for B2B sales, whatever you can find. Books, articles, videos, courses. Just keep learning and intensify your learning in the beginning, because that will give you a lot of confidence, and that confidence will come out as something that instills trust in people. Number 8, before I get to it, I hope you are still listening, Red. I know you're taking notes right now, but you need to look at me, because I have a great one for you right now, something that you can study right now. The 80-20 rule. The Pareto principle. I want you to study that, because what it says is that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts or your customers or whatever. So take a look at your pipeline right now. Most likely 20% of that pipeline, only 20% of your pipeline is going to create 80% of your results. So you need to figure out what are the 20% that are going to become your customers, and you need to leverage that. You need to understand what's going on there. Why are they responsible for 80% of your result? So that also means there's a lot of stuff going on in your pipeline that is completely waste of time. And you need to try to differentiate and figure out what are the 20%? What are the 20% that typically generate 80% of my results? All your previous wins and the customers that you have today, they will give you a clue of what makes them the 20% that generate the 80% of your results. This is a very important analysis. You need to figure out what is it that makes a good prospect that converts into a customer. There are traits, there are criteria you can look into. So you do this with your manager. Invite your manager for a discussion. He's actually pretty good with these things. Help him understand what you're trying to achieve. Tell him that you want to apply the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, on your little business, your customers, your prospects. See if you can identify the things that you should look for in the future. It'll make it much more easier for you to spend and invest your energy. Number 9, you are not in control of the result. Nobody's gonna tell you this. I really don't know why, because it's very obvious. We cannot control the result. We can only control the effort. And nobody's telling you this. It's as if it's a secret, or maybe everybody believes that they can influence the result. No, you cannot. The result will come. You need to focus on the effort. And I've seen this movie so many times. And you kind of think you can control the result, but you really can't. Because the power to decide is on the prospect side. The prospects are going to decide. They have a buying process, just like you have a sales process. And in that buying process, there are different people with different opinions and with different levels of authority. And they're going to decide something. You cannot control what they're going to decide. No matter how good your offer is, no matter how good you follow up, no matter how good you act towards them, you're not going to influence the result. Because the result is a decision that they're going to make. So what you can do is focus on the effort. Make sure that you do your absolute best to influence the effort, because the effort is your circle of influence. That's what you can do. That's where you can focus on becoming better and better and better. And you can do whatever in your power to help the customer, understand the customer, deliver a good offer, ask the right questions, follow up on the right moments, etc. All that is something that you can do, but you're not going to influence the result. This will take away a little bit of the pressure from you, the emotional dips, the disappointments when a prospect chooses to go with someone else or to do something else or do nothing. So don't get disappointed. You cannot control the result. It's not up to you. Focus on the effort. Advice number 10, never apply pressure. Pressure is poison in sales. If you use pressure, the prospect will defend themselves. They will close themselves. So you don't want that. You want a prospect to open up, to tell you how things are, to let you in. That's really, really important. So don't apply pressure. And the only reason we apply pressure in sales, we think it will bring us closer to the result. And it's a focus on the result. Focusing too much on the results. It's actually not you controlling the results. So don't apply pressure, it's poison. If you could see me today, how I sell, I really try not to put any pressure on anyone. Like, if you don't want to buy, that's fine. Because some will buy and some will not. And this is called the law of averages. You want to look into that, because the law of averages says that if you send, let's say, 10 offers, 5 of them will buy, or 3 of them will buy, or 1 of them will buy. I mean, as long as you put in the effort, there is some kind of natural law of averages that will kick in. So some will buy, some will not buy. Take it easy, don't apply pressure. You know this because when people are trying to sell to you, they often put pressure on you. And how do you feel when they put pressure on you? You feel like going out of the store, you feel like backing up, you start figuring out what to say in this unnatural way, how you can counter their attack, and you're just completely closing up, and it becomes a kind of like a small, polite conflict. And you don't want to do that with your prospects. I know you're not doing it much, but sometimes you also do it. And I know your colleagues are doing it. It's just because we don't understand yet that we don't control the result. So it doesn't even benefit in any way to apply pressure. So don't apply pressure, be cool, be calm, relax, and come from an abundance mindset. There are a lot of customers out there. There are a lot of businesses you can do business with. So you're okay. You're here to figure out if there's a match or not. If there's not a match, that's fine. Maybe in the future. But if there is a match, you're going to lean in and do your best to help the prospect. No pressure. And finally, lesson number 11 to you, my younger self, young Red. Your personal brand is your most valuable asset. If you want to remember one thing from these 11 advices, then remember this. You are building a personal brand, and that personal brand is the key to your career. You are not aware of this right now. You're just being you. You're just being friendly, kind, ambitious, disciplined, etc. You're doing a lot of things. You're trustworthy. I know that. You keep your word. I know that's one of your very high standards. You want to keep your word. That's good. But just remember that everything you do and say is a seed. Your words are seeds. Your acts are seeds. And what you are planting is your personal brand. Because your personal brand will blossom and come up from the ground and show the world who you are. And this is what people will remember you for. And I'm talking about both your colleagues, your customers, and your prospects. Everyone is going to get an impression of who you are. And your personal brand, the person that you are, what people expect from you or what people say about you when you're not there, that's your personal brand. And you can influence that. You can think about that. Be aware that everything you do will have some kind of repercussion in terms of your personal brand. So let me give you some examples. My personal brand today, or actually your personal brand today, is opening up a lot of doors. If I need a job, I can just talk to 1 or 2 people and done, I get a job. Why? Because I have a personal brand. People trust my brand. When I call a previous customer that I've dealt with many years ago, they open up the door, no problem. Come in, let's have a coffee, because they understand my personal brand. They know it, they trust it. Partners that I work with, they have shifted jobs a lot of times, and wherever they end up, we can do business together because I have a personal brand. They know who I am, they trust it. I cannot stress this enough. You are building a personal brand every single day, with every single act, with every single word. Keep doing what you're doing. But be careful and be aware that you are actually building a personal brand that people on the inside and people on the outside are receiving, are seeing. And it's going to benefit you many, many years. And it's going to open up doors. It's going to give you opportunities. And it's going to give you this sense of people are actually interested in working with you. And this, I think, is one of the most meaningful aspects of maybe any given career, but that's what I'm experiencing, and I want you to protect that. And your personal brand today is called Red. People know you as Red. So yeah, you're gonna have a good future, I promise you. Thank you for watching. I hope you benefited from my advice to my younger self. See you in the next one.